Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 27. And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and you shall be left few in number among the heathen, where the Lord shall lead you. Okay, so let's take a look at the population of the Afro-Mexicans and see if that fits this prophecy in Deuteronomy. And then we're going to look at the DNA and see, okay, the Latinos are not a match to the African American, but instead are a match to the Caucasian white people. So let's see, do the Afro-Mexicans match the Negro, or are they off too? According to the 2020 census of Mexico, the Afro-Mexicans only made up 2.04% of the entire population of Mexico. And in the 2023 census, Mexico's population was put at 123 million. So with that being said, we have 2% out of over 100 million. That fits the prophecy. And another thing, it doesn't make any sense. With the 12 tribes chart saying that every Mexican is an Israelite, not only does that not fit the curses, because I talked about when I went to Mexico, who was in power, who was ruling these companies and ruling these high positions of authority, and who was wealthy. It was, your tan, Latino, Spaniard-looking Mexican. It wasn't the Afro-Mexicans who were ruling anything. As a matter of fact, my whole almost year in Mexico, I didn't even see a single Afro-Mexican. That's how few in number they are. So already they fit that. But these One West camps want you to believe that all 123 million of Mexicans are all Israelites. That's not correct. That's not biblical. Okay, so I usually don't use the Google AI stuff, but it was able to go fishing and get some pretty good sources right here, so I'm going to use it today. Afro-Mexicans are a distinct ethnic group in Mexico with African ancestry, the same thing they say about us. They carry the Y DNA haplogroup E1B1A. Boom, they are a match, because the so-called black man in America also carries E1B1A. So we share a common ancestor with these Afro-Mexicans, but we do not share a common ancestor with these Latino Mexicans that you see owning the Walmarts in Mexico, that you see high up in the government, that you see on the TV, that you see on TikTok. You see, that's the difference. And here's one thing I gotta say. I've heard stories from Mexicans, Latinos, that is, and obviously there's righteous people in all nations. They can be loved, they can be a part of this thing. But I've heard them tell some crazy stories about the stuff they say about black people around their dinner table. And here's the question to One West chart makers. If the Latino is Issachar, why would they be talking about us like the so-called white man talks about us? Once again, even about the white man, not all of them are wicked, not pushing that One West lie. But you see what I'm saying, though? I mean, literally, you can find it online. Latinos talking about, their parents calling blacks the N-word and how they don't want them dating them and all this other type of stuff. If we are one nation and if we're brothers, why would they say that? So it's apparent that the Latinos don't even believe that they are our brother. We're pushing this brotherhood on them that they don't even believe. They don't even believe. I went to Mexico, and there was no brotherly love when I was there. And I've said this to other people, where when I went to Mexico, there was no feeling of we're family and that we're brothers and that we're the same. A lot of them were friendly, but that was no difference than white people being friendly to me in Whole Foods. It was like, they're cool with me, but we know we're not the same, though. There's a difference between like having a friend who's from another nation versus someone who's your brother. Your friend who's Korean don't feel the same as your brother who you came out of the same womb of your mother with. It's a difference. And the Latinos had that friend of another nation vibe and not the I'm your brother vibe. And like I said, the stories, they don't even believe that. That's something we've been pushing on them. Afro-Mexicans are descendants of Africans who were brought to Mexico during the colonial period, and they are now a significant minority population, particularly in the Costa Chia region. The presence of the E1B1A haplogroup in African Mexicans is a strong indicator of their African ancestry, as it is a marker commonly found in populations with recent African origins. Other lineages. While E1B1A is predominant, Afro-Mexicans also have other genetic lineages, including European and Native American. This reflects the complex history of mixing and migration in the Americas. Okay, that's true. Put that out there. But there's the gist of it. They are related to us.